Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm working on my Botanical Beauties and the prompt is Lilly, which is ready to go, ready to stitch. So I've got my hoop and some threads. I grabbed a container of green. There's a bit of everything in there. There's more wound onto bobbins behind me here. So if I can't find the right tone of green, I do have a plan with more behind me. And I also grabbed these threads which have creams and whites and things like that. So where do we start is the question. Let's just start right in the middle. Now I am putting it into a hoop because this linen, what's that thread from? This linen is very soft and smooshy and it's just beautiful. So I just find I need just that little bit extra structure to hold it nice and taut. So where are we going to work first? Plus I've got beads over there, like talk about make it difficult for myself. See how that goes. That's not hitting any beads. That's all well and good putting beads on your work, but when it comes to popping it in a hoop, it can be problematic, but I think we're good. Okay, so Mr. Lilly here, I've got in my mind weaving, to be honest. It's been sitting there on the bench looking at me, and I sort of feel like I want to explore some weaving on one of these petals. I won't do the whole thing because it's, as you know from my pansies, it's about exploring different techniques in a spot. So messy stitching, some embroidery type stitches, outlining, whip stitch. You can see just from the leaves there, they're all different. And that's what I want to do with this piece is it's like a sampler. Pick a petal, pick a leaf, and just focus on that one leaf. Don't think about the rest of it. That'll all happen. So, now I did have a picture for inspiration weeks ago. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? It had a lily, I think it was a embroidered piece on a napkin, and there was a colour they'd used, so it's machine embroidered, not hand embroidered. There was a colour they'd used to outline the piece, and I just thought that was really beautiful, and I think it was yellow. Don't tell me I can't find it. I might have put it in an album. I've tried to create some albums on my phone. And now I'm filing everything into albums, or picture it like a filing cabinet, and everything slides into a drawer, but then you can't remember which drawer it's in. That's what's happening at the moment. Botanical Beauties. See, I created a drawer for Botanical Beauties, and the picture's not even in there, for goodness sakes. That theory worked. I shall have one more look through those images, and if I can't see it, that's it. I give up, and I don't think I can. It was a serviette that they'd machine embroidered some lilies on. I know I showed it in one of the previous videos. Oh, goodness sakes. Doesn't matter. It's gone. Forget about it. I'm wasting time. I'm pretty sure it was like a yellow or something around it. It just made it pop. So what I want to do is find some white, off-white, fresh white, ivory white. And then what if if I put white with it. Got some old crochet cotton here. This one tends to disintegrate when I drag it through fabric, but it might just be good for weaving because it's not having to do too much work. But it's very similar to that. That's Pearl DMC. I feel like I want to, what's this? I feel like I still want to maintain that white. Let's try this. Let's just cut a piece off, girl, and just have a go. What possibly could go wrong? So what I'm thinking is we set up the structure for weaving, and thinking this leaf here might be a good one because it gives us that curve. And then when I look at that bud here, I feel like that little guy through there, see that section there would be good to be woven. And then this is just maybe embellished, embroidered, because I don't want to lose that green. So I guess I'm looking for areas that can have that weaving look. All right, let's just at least try the weaving and see if it even will work. So we need to create some stitches. So we're going to go like that. So if we fan around that outer edge, let's give it a go. Because I could probably see where that green is there. See where I've just put the stitch in and there's a little bit of green. We probably could even come through after it's woven and put a little line of green in there to pick up on whatever greens we use for the leaves. And I don't know, that's too far apart. Hold the horses. So I guess in today's video we're going to explore this particular stitch, see how it sits, see how it looks. Does the girl get excited and go yes, 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 and away she goes? I think it's going to be the most densest, heaviest element of the whole piece. So I think I want to get that sorted first, and that will then tell me how many more petals get woven. Do I then jump to a leaf and do a bit of weaving on those? I think once I get this dense element in, I'll then be able to come back through again and revisit some of the other petals to work out how I embellish them with stitch. So that's the plan, pretty much. That's the plan. Now, you guys are watching this in March, and I'm off gallivanting with Susanna at her retreat, plus spending a few days either side of the retreat, checking out the world in which she lives, shopping at all of her haunts. So you may have seen videos pop up in amongst this of me or not, depends on how sidetracked I am, and I'm just like, oh, I'm just not going to have time for a video, and you guys have had days where there's been no video. So don't panic, I'm okay. Well, I presume I am. It's February at the moment for me. So I'm going to assume I'm okay. And if you haven't seen a video for a day, here and there, don't panic. I'm just gallivanting. So that is a good start. And I think I could probably change direction, couldn't I? Like bring in a second waft and weft left, warp, left and right, up and down. Okay, I'll just use all of this thread, I think, and then what we might do is get that woven, and I'm thinking along the lines of what am I thinking? Am I jumping ahead too far and I haven't even proven that this will work yet? Probably. Just leaving a little bit of a gap between them. That just gives space for the next thread that comes along to lay nicely in there. So at the moment I'm following the perimeter of the petal. What if I was to stop doing that now and just shorten, keep pulling the thread out, shorten up the actual stitch? What would that look like? Let's give it a go. And bring it only to the center vein of that petal, like so. Because that then gives you the opportunity of running a stitch this way and then weaving back into it. Gives you an opportunity to insert lace or beads or long and short stitch. It really starts breaking the leaf or the petal down into smaller little chunks. Because it's curving that way, I sort of feel like I get quite tight on that petal shape there. Bring it in, radiating around. And the other thing too is I might decide to leave that where it is, and you could even go back in with more white paint. So it's just like this little element sitting on the edge of this petal. I don't know. Gosh, I've got so many ideas. The girl just needs to finish her sentences. It'd be a good start. Don't have much of this thread left, so I'm just going to go until it runs out. It's tapering down by the feels of it, because I'm running out of thread and I sort of want to get a little bit further along, I think. That thread is like a crochet cotton. There's a big roll of it that I picked up at an op shop, so I'd say someone's been using it for an edging on maybe a tea towel or something. So it's about a 4-ply in my best guesstimate. I might just bring that right in tight now, drop it back down. Don't know why, I just feel like it's helping me build the shape of that curve. Okay, one more. Oh, I think I can get another one. Even smaller. All right, that'll do, girl. That's enough. So I did a bit of a odd shape there. Knot that off. Okay. So there's our webbing ready. Now, what do we use next? Do we go this little guy? It's very fine. I think I need to go chunkier. So we're back to that DMC. Yeah, let's do that. This is the fun bit. What do I do with my needle? There it is. Let's get this threaded. So I've got a fairly big eye, thick needle. It's got a bit of a point, but what I'll do is I'll spin it around because I don't want to split the thread by pushing this through, because when it comes to moving your thread up and down that you've just woven, it won't go if you've sliced through one of these with your point of your needle. So depends if you want a bit of a gap or you want it tight. Now the thing is, I've got to decide at what angle am I going to be weaving. So if I go in here at this point, it would radiate out like that. And then when I get to here, I should be able to bring it around to get that curve. Yeah, I think I'm going to start right at that point. I think that's makes sense to me in there. Right, here we go. Now I'm going to spin it around because I do not want to pierce the thread, the white one. And it's just up and down, up and down, up and down. You've seen me do this heaps of times. And we're through. And this is where we can start thinking about the angle of which that weaving will be, because we need to go down through the fabric. So do I want it a sharper line? I sort of feel like it feels comfortable there. Way overthinking it. So down we go. Then we come back up next to it. We'll go to the top of that last stitch. And back. Oh, see, I pulled it through. Go in. It's because this linen is so loose weave that can happen pretty easily. Let's just get that stitch straight because it's sort of got a bit tight there. So I've gone over, now I've got to go under, and back we go. So my guess is I'll play with white and cream, different size threads, thicks and thins, and just weave in around the whole piece. So I'm going to go under there. Well, not the whole piece, this petal is what I should have said. Now see how that's sitting apart? Don't panic at this stage because that will all come in nice and tight. You know when you see them on the loom and they're weaving through and then they have this thing that comes down to compact it all? That'll happen. Just need to take a bit of pressure off of that because it's pulling that end one in, so we don't need to be so aggressive there, girl. Let's just back that off, get a bit of loose thread there, come back up, and away we go again. Once I get 3, maybe 4 runs in, I'll be able to compact them down. And you don't have to, like I've seen looser weaves that look like a basket, gorgeous. So you might find that you like it with a little bit of air between it on your work. And this is where you find if you've split the stitch below, you can't move it. It is staying where you have it. It is not moving. So just gently bring it up and it just seats in next to the previous line. So then I go back down, anchor it, come back up, and that's it. That's as tricky as it gets, guys. So if you've seen weaving on pieces and you're like, whoa, I don't know, give it a go. It is really enjoyable. So we're going under, over, under, over. It's a shame I wasn't using 2 completely contrasting colours. You'd probably see it a damn sight better than what you're probably thinking now. And if you find you get to the end and you're like, it's not sitting right. You're not doing an over where you should have done, well, you're doing an over and you shouldn't. You should be, you're finishing on an under. Please stop and go back and pull it out. You see, I've just done it there. What I've done is I've gone over two. See that? I've gone over two. Just as I say it, I do it. Stop, stop, stop. Because what'll happen is you'll throw yourself out on the next line. It just won't be woven. Another thing you can think about doing is you might decide to do over two, under one, over two, under one, or you might do over two, under two, over two, under two. Like, you can really start playing with the structure of your stitching. So I'm going to go under that little guy. See, I can't believe that I nearly did what I was about to tell you could happen. It's because I'm chatting and not concentrating. So just condense that. Might use the back of the needle. That way I don't risk putting the point into these threads and breaking them. That first one I did swinging down there out of place, but I'll get him when I come back. So I tend to go, once I get my stitches in place, I tend to go right through the middle of it, and that like anchors the whole lot. I don't really start on an end and work my way out. I find just sort of go straight through, it anchors it down. That also gives you the opportunity that, let's pretend my needle is the thread. I might decide the next lot of weaving actually comes through this angle and through is an option. So yeah, where am I? Down this end? Yep. So back up using the end. So what are we doing? We're going over and then under. Just getting right up near that edge of that petal. So my homework will be I'm just going to focus on the flower at first. I'm not going to scoot ahead to leaves. We'll do that another day. Otherwise, I'll find myself all over the place. I'm just going to focus on the lily itself. And I think too, that will tell me how much work goes into the leaves. I've done pieces in the past where I had all these grand plans. And then once the flower or the image is stitched, the rest needs to just back away a little bit. So I think I'll do the same thing. I'll just focus on the lily. And then when I feel like I've finished the floral element, I can then come back and go, righto, leaves. But I'd say I'll go from the lily to the bud. There's a second bud, isn't there? Oh, of course there is. See, it's so quick to paint and sketch. Then the girl has a lot of stitching to do. Oh, I tell you. That's all good. I've left plenty of slots for the month of March to slide in. I just had a feeling this piece might be a lot of work. So I was so tempted to start another project. And you guys would be like, oh my goodness, girl. But I thought this lily, I could really play with the flower, and I thought that's going to take time. Oh, I think it's getting so tight to that edge. I don't know if I can get another stitch through there. Give it a go. Pick him up. There he is. That'll help compact the previous, if I can get this last row in on that edge. And then I need to track down that photo and decide whether I'm going to edge my lily in a yellow or I leave the black sketch come through, or I do a mix of both, because at the end of the day there's no rules. I think I can get one more line. Come up there, over, under, funny noise outside. There's a vacant, well, it's not vacant. There's a farm to the back of our property, but to the side. And it looks like it was once an old horse racing stud, you know, a horse farm that had racing horses on it. What am I trying to say? Because the farm that's directly behind me and runs behind a heap of us, when you have a look on Google Maps, you can see a circular, I cannot get that stitch in there. I can see a circular shape on the ground. So it's like there was once a horse track there. And then where that boundary finishes on the one corner of me is another farm that runs in the opposite direction, and it is full of stables, very old rundown horse stables. So my theory is, back in the day, this was one big property and the place has been cut down into 10-acre allotments, and then our 10 acres has been cut down into 2-acre allotments. So it's like one big farm is now in 3 sections. Our little lot in a row, the big one behind us that I can see this horse track on, and then the big farm is off to the side of us all. And that is where these old stables is. There's an old house there, but no one's living in it. So this parcel of land is pretty much vacant. And every so often I see goats in there as if they've leased it out to someone who has goats. And now through the trees and in the distance, I can see all this yellow and blue metal. And it sort of looks like scaffolding, or I don't know. I haven't climbed through the scrub to investigate it further. But every so often a big truck, I can hear it down through the bush. Can't see it real well. Goes in there, picks up stuff, drops off stuff. So I'm wondering if they've leased that block, which often has goats on it. I think the goats are still there. Has leased it to a construction company that might be building a bridge or something. And these huge, big, girdery looking steel scaffolding-y things that I really don't know what they are. I can just see the colour blue and yellow dappling through trees. And I can hear metal being lifted and dropped. So I suspect that they've leased that farm or block with the old stables on it to a construction company. And I can hear noise down there. That's why Pepper's just raced over and gone woof, because she too can hear them. So yeah, I've been tempted to walk through the scrub and investigate, but really I need to just keep my nose this side of the fence. It's not even technically my neighbour, but from where the corner of my block, there's a fence line behind, that's the racetrack. This farm runs through the whole lot, and that's where the metal is, and then the old stables. So really, it's not my neighbour, and I should mind my own business. Everyone in the street's gone, does anyone know what's happening over the back? None of us know. But they're in there at the moment doing something, because I can hear an engine. I'm sure that one day we saw a crane there, so I have to wonder if it's like big steel elements to a bridge, and they've rented that farm space to a construction company. That's what I reckon it is. That's my theory anyway, but I don't know. You can just see Corrine traipsing through the scrub, can you? Peering over the fence. Remember that show Home Improvements? Tim Allen, Mr. Wilson? Yeah, that's Corrine. What you doing over there, mate? Howdy, neighbour. So I've got to a point where I need to decide how I'm going to proceed. I feel like I need to change direction, guys. I'm going to come up here and go that way. And then maybe finish it somewhere here and then do, like, weave it back. I'm going to change directions. Here we go. Something new. So if that's an under, this needs to be an over to make it gel together. How are we going for time? 30 minutes. Yeah, the dogs have just started barking. Half the time, most of the barking, I think, is for what's going on behind us. Yeah, they're down at the side boundary of the property. They can hear workmen over there. Okay. So now I've got myself a whole new line. Am I happy with that? I think so. I'm going to come back a little bit and weave. So yeah, I was just referring to the Brisbane property. If you're wondering, how does that work? She's got a lake next to her. I'm still here in Brisbane from time to time. We're working our little butts off to get the property ready for sale. So today's video, I'm back in my old craft room. It's a wonder you guys can keep up. The girls flitting around the countryside. Slowly starting to get more furniture in my Barham craft room because pieces from Brisbane are going up and it's starting to really help with the echo. It was really bad at the beginning, but it's getting better. I've got a couple rugs down now that I haven't yet found a home for, so I just said to Gaz, let's just throw them on the floor in my craft room. And then as the house settles, you know, when all your furniture finds its spot, seems to take a little while for these things to flesh out. My room, my craft room, is the dumping room, but that's okay. Okay. Alrighty, let's head back down. It's tight this side. It's going to make for an interesting texture, I think. Really digging it. Come on. It's just getting finicky through there. Can I get one more stitch? Oh, I might leave it. I'm just putting pressure on the fabric underneath. I don't want it to give way because at the end of the day, it's a very soft little linen. So now I'm going to come down here because I think it's as far as I can go. And I need to go under there. Let me know if you're going to try a bit of weaving. Have I inspired you to give it a go? For you lot out there that do heaps of stitching, you've probably already explored weaving. But for the newbies, give it a go. Even if you just do a small little bit on a sampler, if you don't have a project as such, just grab yourself a little bit of fabric, pop it into a little embroidery hoop. Weaving does like to be on a taut surface. It just doesn't sit as well. You can do it without a hoop, of course, but it doesn't sit as easily when you've got that hoop. It's like it's when they thread up a loom. It's nice and taut. There we go. Now, do I continue on? I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, but not going to talk about the content on my channel because it's crime stories, true crime stories through history in our country. And some of it's a bit, you know, like I get to sections, I'm like, oh, why am I listening to this? But I do find it interesting at how they apprehend these cretins. And often it's police detectives being interviewed and what all went to play to catch the bad guys. Oh, that's not sitting right. I've just pulled it. Got a bit of a curve there, and I'm wondering if I can actually do that. That's better. So I'm not about to start telling you about some of the things I've heard lately, because it's just not nice stuff, like historical famous crimes. I don't know why I'm in that rabbit hole at the moment. I need to be listening to more positive things, as my husband would say. He hates it. He's like, good things in, good things out. But I don't mind it. I probably should have been a police detective. I probably would have enjoyed the investigation side of things and thinking through what could have happened. And I'd never watched the series, what's it called, Bones, where it's based on a real life scientist that has become famous for her analysis of bones and bodies and that. So, and I think she's an American lady. And I've never watched it because hubby thinks it's not the best show to be watching because it's gruesome. Yet he can watch a zombie movie. Like, he loves zombie things. Like, it's crazy. Doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's a whole nother debate. So because we've sort of been at different locations for the last month or so trying to get all these different tasks done at the two different properties, I thought, I'm going to watch Bones. I think I got to episode 4 of season 1. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is heavy. I think if you watched it once a week, it probably would be okay. But if you're just sitting there stitching and one episode after another is just this gruesome story about how some poor person's lost their life, and then this scientist rocks in with this rather dashing, good-looking detective, and there's that sexual chemistry there, and then they drag out bones and bits and, oh my goodness. So yeah, I think I got to episode 4 and I'm like, oh, it's too heavy. That's nut. That was the end of that. Like, I like the storyline of the sexual tension between these two characters. And I think it went for like 8 years or something like that. It's big in the 90s. And I'm thinking, gosh, imagine going 8 years watching this series, waiting for these two lead characters to, have that first kiss. Maybe they did. Maybe they let them have a kiss in season 3. I don't know. But I thought, oh, gosh, 8 years of looking at each other sideways or going to make the move, and then something random happens to pull them apart. So the love never comes together, and in amongst it, you've got and bones, decomposing bodies and scientific facts, and I was like, no. Go watch something else, girl. So I think I end up putting on Pride and Prejudice. I thought I need Gilded Age too. I just finished watching that. Really enjoyed that. I'm making a bend around a corner and it's just not sitting right. I could probably stitch down, but I think I'm going to just stay on a straight line. It's getting a curve naturally anyway, but I'm not going to try and force a curve, because the moment I do, I get this hole where it's going like this and it's slowly flattening out so that I will get a straight line. But I'm just going to bury my stitch into the side of the other and then come back up and go back. I believe it'll slowly fill in. I like how it's the cream and the white, like it's very subtle, but it's good. I still feel like I'm holding true to a white lily with this little subtle, warm coloured creamy thread going through. So I'm happy with that. It's got a bit of a shine about it too. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a bit of a shimmer happening there. So very good. Okay. Riveting viewing. Like I said, I'm going to go through this whole lily doing weaving. Then I'm going to think about the next stitch for the lily. I don't want to jump ahead too much because I just don't want to miss an opportunity for some decorative stitch. And this weaving is going to take a little bit of time. So that'll give me something to work on. It might be a case of just the throat gets woven. I don't know. See, once you start to lay down your thread into something, see now I can go down, I think. Getting around that bend. Okay, that's going to work. Feels like I'm creating a nap as well, which is pretty cool. I don't think I'll get as far this time. I'm going to have to stop about halfway along, I think. I'm going to run out of come out of there. You little sneaky threads disappeared. Just got to get through. Oh. Got to catch that little guy. There we got him. Sometimes you just got to take your time to get your stitch. They're disappearing under each other. I think what's caused that is I went down, stepped across, came back, stepped across, went down. What I probably should have, which is then in turn put a bit of a slope on those stitches. If I had have gone down, popped up here, down, popped up here, down, I would have been rolling my thread from front to back and my stitch would have been straighter. And I'm just noticing here I'm struggling to pick up the little guy, even though it's the last row. Like I'm really bringing it home now on the last line, but I'm struggling to get him because there's that slope, because he's turning on the spot to come back up. Does that make sense? So in hindsight, I probably would go up and down. See, some of them did go up and down. Others just went side to side and across. These stitches are sitting better. Does that make sense? So it's like splitting the detail. Like I probably don't need to be too worried because I just do each stitch at a time instead of, you know, just weaving my needle through the whole lot. That's okay. I just take my time and do one at a time, but it would be quicker if I was just... Okay. I can feel a chalkiness on my fingers, and I'd say it's from the paint. A little bit of paint coming off. Thread back up. There we go. We should get this finished. Gosh, 1 hour to do that. Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll be doing smatterings of weaving over these flowers. Oh boy. It's taken an hour just to do this little bit. Looks super cool, but I don't have much to go now. Nope. So we're going to go under. One stitch at a time. It's tight in there. don't want to be too forceful that I pull it through the fabric, the up and down stitch, the warp thread. For those of you out there that correct my pronunciation of words, thank you. But there's no hope. You'll never change me. It's just that Australian slang. There'll be all sorts of words you guys must hear and go, oh my goodness, isn't that an odd way of saying it? It's the Aussie slang and a hint of German probably. My grade 1 school teacher used to say to my parents, is there a German influence in the house because of the way little Corrine is saying her words? And it was my grandparents, especially on my dad's. Oh goodness, gave me a fright. Sorry guys, random number. Yeah, the grade 1 school teacher could hear that there was a slight German influence on the way I spoke. And I don't know if it's still there or not, but I've definitely got something. Oh, I can hear metal dragging. Can you guys hear that? Probably not. Pepper and Bandit are going to bark in a minute. So they're over there doing something. There we go. There is some weaving on my Lilly. So now I've just got to decide, how do I approach it? I'm thinking I do a bit of weaving through there. Maybe a bit of weaving through there. Like just try and keep a bit of a curved feel about it. Then when I get to these, I could do something through the center. I really feel like that could be woven. So, yeah. All right, guys, I better go. It looks like that random number has left a message, so I better go and just listen to it to make sure everything's okay. All right, have a lovely day. Thanks for joining me. I've got plenty of weaving to do. All right, guys, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.